Yo, 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 what's that word? This is Third 12 Inning Podcast, episode 23. I'm going to keep my promise to y'all. It's late night, but like I said, we going back to back. We about to knock it out the park. I'm going to really enjoy this episode like I enjoyed the last one. By the way, if y'all hadn't got a chance to go watch or listen to that one, please go do it. Just search 3012 in the podcast on YouTube and Spotify. It's about NFL free agency. This one is going to be NBA focused, specifically about the NBA's new agreements on their collective bargaining agreement. Now, let's jump right into it. So, the NBA and the NBA Players Association, they came together and they rectified some things, or they doubled down on some things that they wanted to say the same. We're going to discuss the three major ones here today. I'm going to try to make it not too long for y'all. Like the last one, we had to cut some out, but it's quality content. So the new CBA is rumored to come into play beginning July 1st, 2023. It's a 7-year deal with a mutual opt-out clause after 6 years. I think that's a good length due to the fact that they just got a new deal for the TV contracts. It gives them time to work out how's this going. Is there anything we need to immediately rectify? Because in contract terms, 6 years, it's a firm like, okay, let's practice to see how this goes, but it's also like quick enough for, okay, this isn't working, we can move on from this. And I think that's very important. So the first big point that I wanted to make was about the in-season tournament. For that, I'm going to read an article to y'all from Clutch Points. So the article goes, the NBA and players have agreed to a new 7-year collective bargaining agreement. The NBA in-season tournament is arguably the most significant part of the upcoming CBA. For years, there has been talk that the NBA would implement a tournament to make regular season games more meaningful. Following the agreement between the league and NBA the NBA in-season tournament could make its debut in the 2023-2024 campaign. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver first mentioned the idea of an in-season tournament in 2019, comparing it to the model that is used in European soccer. There have been plenty of detractors and supporters within the league regarding a tournament in addition to the playoffs. After years of discussions and plenty of failed proposals, the in-season tournament is finally about to become a reality. When will the tournament take place and what's at stake for the players and teams? Let's look at what there is to know about the NBA in-season tournament. And it's going into a little bit of detail about what it is. The NBA in-season tournament will feature all 30 teams and culminate with one champion. Each team will play a number of pool play games that determine the 8 teams that advance to a single elimination tournament. The Final Four will be held at a neutral site. Las Vegas is in discussions to host the Final Four via ESPN. Matchups that have already been implemented as part of the regular season schedule will count as pool play games. Even the single game elimination contest will count toward the regular season schedule. The 2 teams that reach the in-season tournament championship game will end up playing a total of 83 games for the season. Because all the games count for the regular season, there will be no break for the in-season tournament. When the 8 teams move on to the single elimination part of the tournament, the other 22 NBA teams will continue to play regular season games. Each team will have 80 games on their initial regular season schedule, according to Shams. Once the knockout round is set, the league will determine the rest of the schedule. So I thought all that was extremely interesting stuff as far as it comes to the in-season tournament. And I also think that we need to note that many people have determined that the NBA season doesn't start for them until Christmas time. This tournament is scheduled to take place within, I believe, November and December, the mid-November to December. That's very important because it gets people engaged earlier in the season, and ultimately that makes them more invested. And we've seen ideas like this come about when, you know, we had LeBron saying about the play-in tournament when he said, whoever created this shit should be fucking fired. And we know somebody that's the face of the league like LeBron James, anytime he said something, his word has clout to it. Even Luka agreed to it, saying he doesn't understand the concept. And his owner, well, not his owner, forgive me, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, who Luka is employed by, stated that the play-in tournament would be an enormous mistake. And now we know when we look back on the play-in that it was an enormous success. Everybody tunes into those games. They're very good precursors to the playoffs. And we get to see how the teams who ultimately make the playoffs perform in those settings, in that playoff style atmosphere. I know you guys remember as well as me that Lakers playing game against the Golden State Warriors where LeBron hits the game-winning three over Steph. And Steph has this look of exasperation on his face. That was a treat for all of us. And there are many similar games like that, including the Cleveland Cavaliers playing. Who they played? They played the games against someone last year. It's a very exciting game. Darius Garland going toe to toe last year in that game. It's good stomping ground for those teams that are at the end. They're at the end of the playoff race, but still have that young talent that's trying to ascend. They get to still show their mettle. So, next thing I want to mention about the in-season tournament was actually that there is a $500,000 prize, and that's extremely important because, everybody isn't on a max contract. There's still guys on minimum contracts that are trying to earn that extra bonus right then and there. And again, it is in season. And guys on those mid-level exceptions, the smaller contracts, that still means something to them. Which, $500,000 is a lot of money to the average person, to NBA players. Again, to the ones on a lower salary rung, it's still a lot of money to them. And why not? Why wouldn't they mind having it? Now, but the biggest takeaway I had from the in-season tournament was it gives young teams a chance to showcase their talent while people are watching in a playoff, almost hopefully a playoff style atmosphere. We could potentially have matchups of Chet Holmgren and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus Victor Wembanyama and maybe Jalen Green if he gets drafted by the Rockets. I'm very excited to see something like that. You have players with similar skill sets who are still trying to develop and earn their keep and their medal in the league. That'll make for a really exciting game, especially if they're competing for something like, say, a trophy. Maybe, if we get involved with sponsorships or something like that, the Hattie's Collection trophy. By the way, if you haven't already, visit Hattie'sCollection.com. A lot of new products dropping soon, and, we got a lot of good things going on over there. Watch my other videos. Search 3012 in his podcast on YouTube and Spotify. I appreciate your support. Now getting back into it. Besides Shai and Chet versus Victor and Jalen Green, another matchup I thought about was Cade Cunningham and potentially Scotty Miller versus Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner in this tournament, the in-season tournament. Again, a showcase of young talent. I think those are all good matchups. And again, you can see veteran teams. We got to see how that plays out. Will vets take it seriously? I mean, obviously, I already mentioned the $500,000. So, everybody at the end of the day, they're trying to play for that bag. I think that's what fans get mixed up sometimes. And I won't go on a quick tangent. I won't go on a tangent about this. I just want to say this quickly. I think we forget and we just accept that these guys are playing for us and they're playing for glory and all this. And I think that's part of it. I mean, these guys do want to go to the Hall of Fame. They do want to be remembered. But these guys are playing for money. They're making generational, life-changing money. $500,000, that's not generational money, but that'll pay for their child's education. That'll pay for, that's $500,000 extra. We ain't got a pocket watch. We know that's a lot of money to do whatever they want to do with. Now, next major point that came with the new CBA was an emphasis on combating what we've seen over the years in the league, and that's load management. Obviously, load management has been a big problem with people going to these primetime games and the star player sitting out of the games. And, you know, of course, you're going to feel like you missed out on something. I remember a couple years ago, I went to Orlando Magic versus Milwaukee Bucks game, and Giannis didn't play. And we know Giannis is known for playing games. He's one of those Iron Man athletes in general, but especially as an NBA player. And then having played, and it was still good basketball because at the end of the day, these guys are NBA players. But if you're not a diehard fan of the game, I would understand how, okay, I came here to see this specifically, and you don't get a chance to see it, and it might be, you know, let's say two teams are in different conferences. You might only get to see this player play once a year if you don't live in those cities, especially if you paid a lot of money to travel. So the NBA placed a heavy emphasis on trying to correct this issue. And the ways they did it is now to qualify for the top individual achievement awards, you have to play a minimum of 65 games. Now, to express the magnitude of that, I came up with 6 current MVP candidates in the amount of games played this season, the 2022-2023 NBA season. So first, we have, in many people's eyes, the leading candidate, Nikola Jokic. He's played in a total of 67 games. Joel Embiid played in a total of 63 games. So, like I said, Nikola, he would be number one for a lot of people. Maybe him and Embiid are kind of wrestling for it, but as of right now, Embiid wouldn't qualify. Next, I had Jason Tatum, who plays in 72 games. Anthony Davis. No, it was controversial when I put his name on the list, but hear me out. AD, when he's been healthy, I know we have to add that caveat a lot, has been a monster this year, including for the past 3 games, dropping 38, 38, and finally 48 tonight on April the 2nd on the Houston Rockets. AD has only played in 52 games. He wouldn't qualify. Ja Morant. We know Ja's had his troubles this season, whether that be injuries and off the court things. 59 games. Zion Williamson has only played in 29 games this year. Now I want to focus on Zion real quick for 1 minute because I think he drives on 2 good points. One, of course, he wouldn't qualify, only playing 29 games this year. But the thing about it is, okay, the Pelicans, like teams have chosen them before, and why we got to the point where they felt like they had to rectify load management was you want to rest your star players and make sure they're ready for the postseason. And I feel like with Kawhi, it really started with Kawhi, but recently there's been this thing where if you don't win the championship, then the season doesn't mean anything. The championship or bust. Now, we know those expectations have been on other organizations and players seemingly for a while now, put forth by the fans, if not themselves. But the thing about that is everybody's not going to have even a chance to win the championship. Only one team wins it every year. So when you lessen the importance by us always discussing legacy and those things like that, if it doesn't mean anything to us, then why would it mean anything to the players? Why would they risk injury when if the most important thing is to win the championship? So I feel like as we come to the determination of when we rank these players, individual awards are important though. Like, for example, we can talk about the top 3 shooting guards all the time. It seems to be unanimous that it's Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. The only way we can dock Wade, who had a legendary career, shout out to making the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Famer, Dwayne Wade, including the other 2. But the only way we can dock him is because he hasn't won a regular season MVP. That's the only way we can dock him versus the other 2. So, in that sense, individual awards do mean something when it counts for legacy. And how would Zion feel himself when is he gonna withhold himself from playing in these games? Is the Pelicans gonna withhold him for playing in all these games when he knows that it adds to his legacy to win the MVP? How would that affect Anthony Davis? I'm not sure AD is at the point anymore where he's going for MVP awards and things of that nature, but it still means something to him. I'm sure he's a very competitive player and one of the best players in the NBA. And there's still other awards to qualify for, like the Defensive Player of the Year, the new Jerry West Award. Like there's awards out there that mean something to these players, and ultimately, honestly, I think this is a good thing for the league. We want to see these guys play. They get paid handsomely to play, life changing money to play the game of basketball. Um, Respectfully, it's not football. It's not rugged. There's still soft tissue injuries going on, and these still guys still work hard and they put in the time. So, like I said, respectfully, but seemingly over these last probably 7 years, we just seen guys just blatantly, okay, I'm not playing tonight. And that's up to them and their career and the team if they think that's gonna lead them to the ultimate success. So in a way I can respect it, but ultimately I think the rectification and changing, the narrative around load management and putting this qualifier in is a good thing. Next, and finally, we're going to talk about the no change to the one and done rule. Now, this was surprising to me, honestly. I think on the surface, like the average fan, we thought this was going to get changed and players are going to be able to enter the draft straight out of high school. It didn't get changed. Now, if you don't know what the one and done rule is, the one and done rule is you have to be at least 18 years old and 1 year removed from high school. Now, why I think this is important is, or why I think this was actually a good idea, and I know many people will probably disagree with this. You can comment down in the comment section below if you actually disagree with this point. I know we've seen outliers like, of course, the GOATs, LeBron James, Kevin Garnett, Chocolate Thunder, Kendrick Perkins, Jermaine O'Neal. Ooh, I can go on, but we've seen a lot of players make the smooth transition from high school to the pros. But honestly, I do think that they need that, at least that year, to mature their body, but probably more importantly to mature their mental self, because a lot of times these very talented young men, they have the physical attributes to go, but they don't understand that they got handlers behind them that are pushing them in a certain direction because they see a bag. They know they're the bag and they know they're going to have a life changing situation. And a lot of times, I don't think that these kids are mentally prepared for that. For every LeBron James, there's a guy that tried to make the jump and he wasn't as successful because he went too early. And I think, this is going to push kids to, if you want to develop for the league, in my opinion, the most efficient way would be the G League Ignite and Overtime Elite. Both those are going to pay you to play the game at the NBA level, NBA level coaching, NBA level facilities, training courses. It's just going to put you on the path to being an NBA player. It's also very attractive, again, to go play overseas. You're playing against grown men and you're getting kind of the main point I want to get at, which is that uncomfortableness. You're not so comfortable in your surroundings. You're learning to adjust, to be away from family, which is a huge thing I think people underrate. You're being away from your family, your support system, and you're really out on your own, because on the NBA, disregarding the training camp and the overseas team bonding and all that other engagements that you have to do, speaking arrangements, talking at charity events and things of that nature, you're guaranteed to be away from, let's say you got a wife and kids or you got a girlfriend, a family or whatever, you're guaranteed to be away from your support system for at least 41 games. And a lot of people just aren't prepared for that. That's why I think with the new rules for name, image, and likeness, it's very beneficial for young potential draft prospects to take the college route. Now I understand some people they don't want to play school. They feel like, man, if my purpose is to play basketball, why do I have to learn chemistry or Spanish or juvenile delinquency or something like that? There's no reason for me to have to go through that if I'm just trying to play basketball. But I do think the college experience, along with you being able to, like I said, these handlers want their prospects to make money. You get to make money with the name, image, and likeness, but you also get the experience thing that can't be simulated in everyday life. For example, I mean, I'm pretty sure these guys got girls throwing themselves at their high schools or whatnot, but in college, they're going to be one of the men on campus. It's going to teach them how to manage themselves around women, how to manage their finances better when you're on a scholarship, getting your NIL money and potential other things going on. It's going to show you how agents interact when they're around you. It's going to show you how to be a vet. The only detriment is the college game is so different from the pro game. And I think people get that confused because they like to think of college as this farm system. Now, hypothetically, it is, but the NCAA and the NBA are two different organizations and entities. Sure, they might help each other out and things of that nature, but they all have a bottom line. Like when a player's in college, that college team, let's just say it's UConn. UConn is not looking out in the best interest of the teams at the top of the lottery, who are going to get that chance to select one of their players. They're looking out in the best interest of UConn basketball. They're looking at the best interest of trying to win a national championship. So whether that's, having a guy come back another year by enticing them with NIL money, they're going to do what's best for their university. They're two different entities. So in saying all that, I do think that with the NIL, that it makes it more favorable for kids to go to college. You still get paid to do this. But like I said, you still have the G League Ignite and Overtime Elite and overseas organizations that you can go to prepare yourself to play in the National Basketball Association. Also, it protects veterans who are at the end of the bench who, if we didn't have a one and done rule, a lot of teams with how they do draft and stash players from Europe, they would just draft and stash players at the end of their bench. And that would minimize the impact, again, of those veteran players who, even if they don't play, they still provide a presence. And they teach the young players who are already there. Plus, it provides still not a significant, but it provides a cushion for how you stack up a young team. Every year, you don't have to go and draft high school talent. And ultimately, that's important. It shortens the net. And we want to see the best of the best play in the NBA. And you're not asking these guys to say college football where you have to be 3 years from high school. You have to be 1 year removed from high school. A lot of these guys are only playing 30 games in college. It's doable. And this has been a great discussion. I really like this one. Like I said, we're going to keep it short. This has been episode 23. Again, y'all visit Hattie's Collection. Search my other videos, 3012 Inning Podcast. We're pumping out a lot more content. We were on a walk throughout the first half of 2023, but we're racing towards the summertime. We got a lot of ideas. Y'all like, comment, subscribe. Comment on this video. Tell me what y'all think. Tell me if there's something else that's important to y'all about the new CBA agreements and what's the outlook you see coming from that. And I appreciate y'all engagement. Y'all have a good one.